What's up guys, Mickle here, and the system is on the brink of collapse. Right now, after hours, we are currently watching a black swan event play out where banks are falling to zero. In this video, I want to break down exactly what's happening, how it's going to impact financial markets going forward, because this is something that's going to impact every single industry. It could spiral into something massive. I want to break down the situation for you, let you know what I think is going to happen, but then towards the end of the video actually transition into how Ripple and XRP are solving these issues as we speak. I get so much pushback from people outside the cryptocurrency sector saying, oh, why do you need something like Ripple? Why do you need something like XRP? In this video, I want to show you why we do need Ripple and XRP in our market right now, and it's a solution to the issues that are tearing down the system as we speak. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Make sure you take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So just like everyone else out there, it's always nice to make a prediction and have it come true. Well, last night I made a prediction in my video, and I really wish I did not get this right. So last night in my video, I said that if the Federal Reserve hikes rates 25 basis points, we could enter a black swan scenario, and we are going to see banks go to zero. Well, what do you know? Earlier today, we had the Federal Reserve hike interest rates 25 basis points, and after hours we see banks falling off a cliff. Now, funny enough, when Jerome Powell gave his statement today to go alongside his 25 basis point hike, he specifically said the banking system is sound and resilient. Well, what do we see after hours? We see that he was completely wrong. Banks cannot take the interest rate environment we are currently in, and what he is doing right now is tearing down the system. Now, the one thing we do not know is whether or not what he's doing is on purpose or not. Now, for me, it's hard for me really to imagine that he wouldn't know this was going to happen. And why do I think that? Well, I think that because I knew this was going to happen. Pretty much every single person who was analyzing these banks was saying if we hike interest rates again, the system could fall apart. These banks were already getting hammered. They were pretty much telling the market, hey, we can't survive any more of this. And Jerome Powell comes out and says, okay, we're hiking interest rates another 25% because the banking system is sound. Now, you can argue that, hey, maybe killing off a couple banks to bring down inflation is worth it, but you cannot argue that the banking system is sound. We had Anthony Welfare, the lead of Ripple's CBDC team, reach out to Twitter the other day and say, if we get another interest rate hike, we are going to see PacWest Bancorp go to zero. And what do we see? We see literally immediately after the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates 25 basis points, we see PacWest Bancorp down 50% after hours. And just so you guys know, the reason it's only down 50% and not more is because they are literally cutting off these stocks from falling any further. And what else do we see? We also see Western Alliance, another bank, down 30%. And there's more regional banks down similar amounts. We are watching the Federal Reserve right now tear down the banking system as we know it. And like I said earlier, the only thing we don't know is if this is on purpose. Now, honestly, it's a little conspiratorial to say it is on purpose, but I just don't understand how you could be this incompetent. Zero Hedge just tweeted out, this is unprecedented humiliation for the Federal Reserve. Just 2 hours earlier, Jerome Powell came out and said, the US banking system is sound and resilient, seemingly unaware that yet another of the largest California banks was teetering on the edge of collapse. How is this level of incompetence possible? And this is exactly what I was saying in the beginning of this video. The fact that the Federal Reserve couldn't see this was absolutely shocking. I should not be making videos that is predicting monetary policy better than the Federal Reserve. That is an absolute embarrassment. So we need to see where this is going to move going forward. But the fact that the Federal Reserve is seemingly unaware that their interest rates are breaking the system is shocking and scary. Now, ultimately, I do think this is going to force us to pivot because like Zero Hedge says here, this is absolutely humiliating for the Federal Reserve. You cannot come out and tell the market the banking system is safe now and have banks collapse just a couple hours later. That is an embarrassment on a national scale. Now, because of this, I think the Federal Reserve is going to have to seriously pivot their strategy. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, it's just a couple of small banks, who cares if they really go under? No one big has gone down yet. What you guys need to understand is this issue is massive. I wish I didn't have to put this in videos. This is the last thing I want to be covering. I want to be covering cryptocurrency. I don't want to cover stuff like this. But just take a look at this chart. This is the unrealized losses by the 4 biggest banks in the United States. And what you can see is over the past 10 years, things have been relatively consistent. But what we can see is that in the last 2 years, since the Federal Reserve started jacking up interest rates, is they are losing massive amounts of money. $211 billion of unrealized losses to be exact, and it looks like that is actually just Bank of America alone. What this means is that these banks cannot survive in a high interest rate environment. Now, the Federal Reserve seems determined to see how far they can push this. Oh, how many rate hikes can we do before only half the banks fail? Now, obviously, we don't know how long they're going to push this till, but the fact that they even pushed it further today is shocking. If one of these big banks goes under, you don't want to envision what would happen. There's going to have to be a massive bailout, the money printers are going to get turned back on, and there's just no reason to get to that scenario. I said yesterday in my video, and I showed you the chart, inflation is already coming down at a rapid rate. The fact that the Federal Reserve thinks that one little 25 basis point just added on top of what they have already done, the fastest interest rate hike in history, would make any difference in the long term is comical. So now we're in a position where we have inflation pretty much coming back down to normal. The Federal Reserve seems to not want to take this into account, and instead we have the Federal Reserve actively blowing up banks. Now, so far they've only killed regional banks, but the chart you're looking at should make you pretty scared that they could easily blow up bigger banks as well. And the fact of the matter is if we keep rates this high, these bigger banks are going to blow up too. Now, the good news about this is this chart you're looking at right here shows you that interest rates cannot stay high. The banks cannot take this. It's going to blow up the entire system, and that's how we know that there is going to be a pivot, hopefully right around the corner. The second there is a pivot, stocks and cryptocurrencies are going to take back off. The Federal Reserve has been purposely breaking the system in an attempt to bring down inflation, but now they've gone too far. And let me just paint for you why this is actually a bullish picture for the market in the long run rather than a bearish one. And I know this is going to be hard to wrap your head around, but just stick with me for a minute. If the Federal Reserve had hiked interest rates and banks were not blowing up the way we are seeing them blow up right now, then they would have had no incentive to pivot their policy. They could have kept interest rates high and maybe even kept hiking interest rates. Now, this would have been the bear case for stocks and cryptocurrencies because stocks and cryptocurrencies do not do good in a high interest rate environment. And that's just because there's other ways to get gains. You don't really have to invest your money. You can just keep your money in treasuries that are going to give you good yields. But the problem is this system does not work. Our system is built on easy money. Our system does not work. Our current banking system does not work when interest rates are high, and that's why these big banks are failing. So what do we know? We know the Federal Reserve can't keep doing this or they're going to tear the entire thing down. I don't necessarily think that's what's going to happen. It would be political suicide for whoever's in charge. So the Federal Reserve is going to have to pivot. And that's the bullish news for cryptocurrencies. They're not going to be able to keep this tight interest rate environment. It's going to go back to an environment where money is easy, where money is flowing back into assets like cryptocurrencies. And that's the good news about all this. We just don't know how much more we're going to have to go through to get to that point. Hopefully the Fed realizes pretty soon that they're breaking the system, but there's no way of knowing when they're going to come to that realization. So now I want to finish this video off and just talk about why we're headed into a new system, why what is happening right now is proving that the current system is broken, and how Ripple and XRP fixes this. Well, just to start off, we know right now in terms of CBDCs, in terms of moving value all around the world, Ripple is the front runner, and Anthony Welfare tweeted that out earlier today. Now, you probably hear all the time that CBDCs are evil, they're spy tools, but what you need to understand is whether or not you have a CBDC that the public is using or whether or not it's some back-end CBDC, we need a system that is not built on debt. We need a system where when you move money somewhere, that money actually moves there rather than an IOU. The problem happening in these banks right now is they're all levered on debt. None of them actually have the money they're supposed to, and because of that, they can't withstand withdrawals. So now these banks are failing, they don't have the money they're supposed to, and it just creates a massive problem that at the end of the day all comes back to debt. In a cryptocurrency future, in an internet of value future, in an actual asset backed future, you do not have to have all this debt. And that's because the assets move instantaneously. That's because you can actually own the value, and that's because it is a transparent system. You no longer have a system where you can say, oh, well, that's going to take 5 days to get over to you, so for now, just take this debt. And what happens is that keeps on spiraling. Then that person goes to another person and says, oh, well, that person's going to pay me, so I'll give you this debt for now, and then when they pay me, I'll pay you. And that spider webs and spider webs and spider webs and creates all these different companies owing this company something, owing this company something, this bank holding your money but lending it out to this company, and that company lending it out to another company. But none of that has to happen in an internet of value, in a system where assets move across the internet instantaneously and you can see, hey, does this bank have my value? Yes or no. This is the system we are moving towards. This is the system Ripple is leading the way with the XRP ledger, and it's the system that's going to win out in the future. Like I said in the beginning of the video, people had told me forever, there is no reason for a cryptocurrency future, the banks work fine, our current system is working, why would you ever need to switch it? What you are seeing right now is these problems can be hidden for a while, but they are ugly, they are bad, and they are big. Eventually, they always come back to bite the system, and what we are watching right now is the problem this system always has. It is based on debt, it doesn't work over the long term, and when you have hard times, the system breaks down and crumbles. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much, and for now, Mickle out.